Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this splendid Friday night. Super Danny on. I'm joined, of course, by the man, the myth, the legend, the Pidge. How are we, mate?
Yeah, good mate. Definitely looking forward to Saturday for sure.
It's gonna be a long journey, but let's hope it's all worth for the 3 points.
Absolutely, mate. It's a synchronised drink in there, boys. I've got alcohol. Yeah. I think he's off the alcohol. Straight edge for the moment. But we should get Andy Campbell on in the show. So massive shout out for him once again for coming up, trumps and coming on. Fantastic fella. So we get the best on, and I'm not joking. He's absolutely top guy. Manager of the Middlesbrough women's team as well. So we'll get his lowdown on that later. But obviously his view from the Borough side shortly. But yeah, Danny, mate, like you said, you're making once again, as always, the long trips, the hard trips, and should be intriguing, definitely, especially with them in form currently.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. I know they lost last week, didn't they, in that local derby against Sunderland? So Middlesbrough are going to be looking to bounce back, with the wins, no question that, and we're going to look to bounce back. To be honest, after quite a disappointing, draw against Rotherham, so it's going to be all to play for. Two teams, ultimately they're fighting for promotion. We might end up seeing Middlesbrough in the playoffs with us because, let's be honest, the top two is going to be it's a long way away. So, so it's going to be an interesting game. Actually, it's one of those games that you can't really predict, but I actually think that the last couple, the signings we've made this January are going to help us so much. It's funny how if we'd have made these signings in the summer, would we've had this inconsistency that we've had this season? Not too sure, but I actually think that if the transfer window was to end tomorrow, I think I'd give the transfer window probably an 8 or 9 out of 10. I think the transfer window's been superb. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, 2 centre backs coming in possibly. I mean, we've obviously confirmed one today, the Hibernian centre back, fantastic. I mean, great piece of business. I'll tip my hat off to them for recruiting him as well. I think Ferreira's going to look a decent signing, to come up trumps last week with a goal. We're looking at, is it Wesley Hoyt? I can't pronounce it properly, but we're looking at him. He's a good player as well, especially Championship.
Left-footed as well, which obviously we need in that defence, left-footed. So, which is going to be bad. Obviously, he's played in the Premier League before. So, it's kind of one, that signing, kind of one that kind of come out of the blue, but I'm all for it. It's more competition now in defence, and defence is probably, yes, we have kept a lot of clean sheets this year, but I think part of that's down to a bit of luck, and I think having Porteous confirmed today, Hope or how do you pronounce his name, Hoyt or Hope, all but joining. It's going to be a lot of places to play for again. So really positive signs.
Yeah, but we pretty much got what we were all hoping for. I think the creative midfielder, but they're probably looking at Martins. But I think what Blissett said in the press conference a couple of weeks back, he doesn't count. But if we can get I think wishful thinking. I mean, like you said, the transfer window shuts today, then I'll be happy as well. But if we can get a creative midfielder in there as well to back up loser. But I mean, you must have seen the Instagram post with a few of the injured players coming, and I said if there's ever a version of football porn, that is certainly it, mate. Because
that's what I mean. Like you look at the Bilic is obviously he stated he wants a midfielder, but you got to think we've still got losers come back. Ultimately, he's probably our best midfielder. You got Kiembe still come back. You got Cleverley to come back. So, another midfielder I think would be ideal, but I don't think it's essential, if that makes sense. Because for the time being, you've got Kone and Chowdhury, and then obviously Gaspar's coming to that midfield, and he's doing well in midfield. So, I think, like I said, another midfielder, it would be nice. An ideal word, yes, another midfielder through the doors, but if we don't get another one, it won't be the end of the world, in my opinion. I think, you know, like I said, we've got midfielders to come back, so I think we'll be okay in midfield.
Exactly. Let's have all your predictions through about the game at the Riverside versus the Borough. Mr. Gary Irons on, someone that we possibly know. He says, "Hi, Pigeon's son. Do you reckon Bilic is happy with the signings we've made so far?" I'm happy with the new players. I mean, you've answered that already, but look, just elaborate on that, mate, because I'm certainly happy
I think I'm happy. I think, you know, speaking to a lot of Watford fans, I think they're generally happy with the signings they've made. I think Bilic, he stated he wants a midfielder. I think number midfielder, maybe I think he wants another wing as well. But then obviously you still got Ken Simmons to come back, so that's obviously going to help when he comes back. So again, if he doesn't get a midfielder, if he doesn't get a winger, maybe not the end of the world. So, but yeah, we'll see. You know, the players he's got. You know, it's clear that, you know, I mean, for once, signing this defender, we've actually spent money on defender, which is unheard of. You know, do you know what I mean? We normally get freebies from Udinese or we get loans, so it's actually good that, you know, they've spent money on defender. Obviously, he's young. He's gonna have hopefully a big future at Watford. You know, because Cathcart, let's be honest, he's not got many years left, so he'll be the ideal replacement just to step into Cathcart's shoes. And then that signing, when we was linked with him, again, not one I knew a lot about, but then, you know, I started to watch a bit of SPL games, and to be honest, he was really, really good in the games I did watch for Bernie, and so really excited about the signing. Probably won't see him tomorrow, but you know, hopefully he'll play next week and kick on.
Exactly. We've got Halsey saying 1-1. Also, we've got Mr. Rogers. Evening, James. He says 3-1 to the Hornets. Bit of stats for you. I'm doing a Sir Dunk here. This is 118, drawn 9, lost 14. So pretty tight in the stats department. Obviously, Michael Carrick. We'll chat about him as well. Coming up, he's certainly made an impact at the Riverside. So like we said, we're going to wear the blue away kit by the sounds of it. 3 p.m. kickoff tomorrow. Darren Bond is the ref. Assistant referees are Philip Dermott and Mark Pottage. Fourth official is Martin Woods. So head coach Michael Carrick spearheaded a run of 8 wins in 12 games, and I'll put that up as well. I think they've only lost 2 in 9. So, you know, the impact there, really, you look at it, 2 in 11. So all the way from Hull City when they won 3-1 away at Hull. No game is easy, and that's a pretty decent result there. But they've taken scalps like Millwall. Millwall are tough to side. They're beating the scum, so that obviously gets my vote straight away. I love Carrick already. You've got Norwich away, Blackpool 3-0 away. That's a tough place to go to in the Championship. Blackburn especially beat Blackburn 2-1 as well. Like you said, they did lose the derby, or not say like the full derby, but you know, one of their derbies 2-0 away at Sunderland, and obviously lost 5-1 at home to Brighton Hove Albion. But that's in the FA Cup. There's certainly no shame in doing that. But yeah, Carrick is certainly making an impact, and they've signed Cameron Archer as well. Which is a one that we certainly looked at in the summer. And like you said, I'll go on what you said. If we had only made, I know it's ifs and buts, but if we made all these signings, especially likes of Archer as well, in the summer, it could have been a different story. But we currently sit in the playoffs. Playing Borough, like you said, are one of the favourites to really make that surge, like a mini sort of Nottingham Forest surge last season. So, yeah, tomorrow's going to be a tough game, isn't it? Certainly.
It is. I mean, it's going to be the start of a big month, you know. I mean, I think this month we've got Middlesbrough, we've got Reading next week. Again, it's not going to be easy, but, you know, I would fancy us to beat Reading next week. And then after that, we've got like Burnley, West Brom, Sheffield United. So this month, you know, when these lot of games are finished, and you'll see where the real Watford are. You know, if we can come out this month, you know, couple of wins, you know, undefeated, I think that'll stand in good stead. You know, especially, you know, if we can get some points off Sheffield United and Burnley. You know, I know it's, you know, if my had a ditch, been my uncle, that kind of thing, but it is that it's true because
very true.
it's all ifs and buts. You know, if we can get to boys Sheffield United, Burnley, close the gap a little bit, then it'll be all to play for. But you know, we've just got to, you know, hopefully get a bit of momentum. You know, especially bounce back from last week. You know, we've got Keenan Davis hopefully back tomorrow. Probably see the new Portuguese lad. I'm not going to bother pronouncing his name. It's just I just can't be arsed, and I don't want to get it wrong. So let's just call him the Portuguese lad from Benfica up front. So we'll hopefully see him tomorrow. Going to be interesting to see. By the sounds of things, Bilic might tweak the formation a little bit to try and play them two together at top.
Yeah, exactly, and we'll throw this out to everyone else as well. Right after I've done the some of the comments, obviously this is for you, the fellow fans. So we've got, yeah, like I said, 1-1 tomorrow. That's from Halsey. We said that already. Feel a win tomorrow, especially with Davis could be back. Dave said, evening, lads. Evening, mate. He says, what can you tell us about the Hibs defender? Some fans compare it to Kieran Turnier. Turnier at Arsenal, but he has more pace. He's also said Borough to win 2-1. Dave Bussey from YouTube says 2-1 Borough, bounce back from the Derby defeat. Campbell, the legend. Ask him if he's been climbing trees lately. We certainly will, Dave. If you stay on. We said he won't be long. I've told him take your time. He's going to be on. So I do promise Andy Campbell will be on as soon as he's sort of sorted himself out. But Andy, mate, just big shout out once again. He's absolutely top fella, and he'll be on shortly. Mr. Kusek said, I hope Bilic is building a solid. I hope Bilic is building a solid backbone to the side. At present, we seem to be a bit powder puff. I think with the players coming back, and I can see where Lee's coming from. I think the players coming back gradually as well. We can start getting a bit more selection headache for Bilic, and certainly we can see what Bilic can do with a more or less a fully fit squad at his disposal as well, which would be nice, because certainly what he's done with, you know, having to, you know, play the kids, fantastic. Really, really happy for Greavesy and Adamayo and Puku and players like that. But, you know, if he can grind out results playing pretty much a second string side in many ways, then, you know, God knows what he's going to do when we have a fully fit side. I know it's all ifs and buts, but yeah, like we said, Davis is back tomorrow. You know, we could possibly, you know, he's already said his press conference that, and like, I agree with you, I'm not going to pronounce the name of our new signing, the Benfica forward. But like you said, do you think he could go for a possible 4-3-3 for this one? Because
if Bilic, you know, it sounds like he wants to try and play them two together. So really, you know, you could either go 4-4-2. You know, you'd stick Kamara left. I think, you know, I'll just go back to that. I think Kamara, when he came on at half time, he did quite well. So I think it wasn't Morris's first half. He had a quiet. He just nothing was happening for, you know, Morris. So I think Kamara comes back in tomorrow. Kafkatsi out. Ferreira, I'd go Kone Chowdhury, the two mids, and I'd go Sarah Martins, and then I'd maybe go. I'm going to give it a go. Araujo, and Keenan Davis. I think, you know, 4-4-2, that might be good, but then he might go back to, you know, the three at the back. You know, it might not be a bad option, especially against, you know, one of the informed teams. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I actually would expect to see Davis and Araujo from the start tomorrow. But in what capacity, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's another big shout out to Gaspar, because I thought he's been excellent in the last few games. He's done his job. You know, he hasn't pulled up too many trees in terms of skills or anything. But I'll tell you what, as a player, if I did not know anything about that guy, I would think he's a centre midfielder.
Yeah,
I really would.
That's a credit to him. That's a credit to him just slotting in and doing a job. So, but I think that's part of his experience as well. You know, he's been there and done it. You know, ultimately, he is a right back, you know, and he's been asked to fill in a position that he's obviously not familiar with, and he's done exceptionally well. So credit to Gaspar. But I just think, you know, because of his age, too many games, you know, the legs will just take out of him, I think. So, you know, give him a rest tomorrow, and it'd be a good option off the bench.
Yeah, exactly. If we do play a three, then I'd fancy Gaspar and Kone and Chowdhury in there. But like you said, if we're playing a bit more adventurous, then you just stick Kone in. Chowdhury as the centre midfielders, because Kone can still act as more of an attacking threat. Yeah. I mean, you can push him further forward if need be, but certainly our best midfield. I'll be interesting to see what, I mean, okay, look, Kiembe as well as Chowdhury's coming for a lot of stick, but it'd be nice to see if Kiembe features a bit better with two midfielders alongside him rather than just one sole midfielder, because he seems to struggle when he comes back fully fit. Would you see a much improvements? Because certainly Gaspar's been reveling with that extra midfielder around him. So he's got really two central midfielders around him for a bit more cover. So he seems to be, you know, a bit more comfortable on the ball, considering, like we say, he's a right back.
Yeah, I mean, when we do get the likes of Louza and Kiembe fit, it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of midfield he picks. Because let's be honest, I think Louza and Chowdhury are, you know, dead certs. You know, their first names on team sheet in that midfield. If fit, you know, they play. So it's going to be interesting to see, does he, you know, does he go with, you know, maybe Pedro on the left, Sal on the right, or does he keep Pedro in that number 10 and then he keeps Martin? It's going to be interesting. But Kiembe, I think once he gets back fit, he'll be a good squad player. You know, I just think now that likes of, you know, Kone and you obviously got Louza, I just can't really see any room for Kiembe there, unfortunately. But, you know, I actually quite like Kiembe. And I know there's a lot of fans that obviously, you know, don't rate him, but I actually think what he does, actually, he does quite well. You know, he's not the most, you know, he's not the best midfielder at the club. You know, he's not. But I actually, the way he plays the game, I actually really respect. So I actually really like him. So, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing him back.
Exactly right. Totally off subject. Just like a big shout out to Mr. Keith Mercer, good friend of the show, and I'm very honoured to be a good friend of him and his lovely wife Michelle. Saw them out and about today, and he looks in great spirits and getting better every time I see him. So that's a big shout out to Keith and Michelle. Both looking fantastic, and Keith certainly on the mend. Watford legend, Mr. Mercer. So big shout out to him. Yeah, I'm going for 1-0 Watford. I usually go for 2-1, but I'm going to go 1-0 Watford. It'd be fantastic we get a clean sheet. I do think with this midfield, at the moment, I'd stick possibly, if you're going to have a free, you probably have someone like Gaspar behind, or Gaspar as one centre sitting and two midfielders like, say, Chowdhury and Kone. But when we get that midfield back, you have Kone and Louza pushing up a little bit more, and you have Chowdhury as just the sole sitting there disrupting the play, and say, look, no one's expecting you to perform miracles here. Just get the ball and give it to someone who can play. That's your job. That's your role. Don't worry about pushing forward. You've got two midfielders beside you that can push up. You can do a similar sort of role with not much as much an effect as when we do have our midfielders back, but you can have Gaspar sitting, Chowdhury and Kone just tiny little bit further forward, or you can have them as a three line of a three there. To have Chowdhury, Gaspar, Kone.
Again, you know, like a touch point, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, with a fully fit squad, what kind of team he picks. Because, like, I'll repeat myself, but Louza and Chowdhury fit, they play 100%. So does João Pedro. So does Ismail Assar. So what kind of position then does João Pedro play? Does he play in that number 10 role, which is probably, that's the way he's most effective, or does he go off the left and maybe he puts Louza, Chowdhury and Kone, and Louza pushes a bit more forward, you know, to be the ball carrier. So it's going to be an interesting one, but I actually think that it's going to be really exciting when we do get these players fit. You know, what a squad we have, but we haven't you know, been inconsistent this season. We've been, you know, so unlucky with injuries. It's just, you know, again, it's all ifs and buts. But if we would have had a fully fit squad majority of the season, who knows where we'll be. But you know, let's forget about injuries happen. Let's just hopefully get these players fit quicker, and then let's have a really good end to the season and see where it takes us.
Yeah, I mean, with Hoyt and this other lad that's obviously Porteous, or how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
You know, in the next game or so, I expect him to be starting. I think he's an excellent centre-back, this Hibernian player. I really am pleased with him. Hoyt is a decent player, you know, don't get me wrong. But I think tomorrow, obviously, be Kamara on the left. I think, you know, our Mr. Roche on the right. You've got Cathcart and I think possibly Siriauta at centre back. Obviously, Backman in goal. We know that's settled already. I think the three midfielders that I was saying about, how you position them and whatever is up for debate. The forward line, I'd play our Benfica player. I'd have Martins and I'd have Sarr. If we're going to do
keep
it,
Davis on the bench, and would you keep Keenan Davis off the bench?
Yeah, you could do, or you alternate. You have Davis starting and keep this Benfica lad on the bench and bring him on for a half-time cameo if it doesn't work out with Davis. I think the one thing we've got to do, if we're going to play Davis and him together, you've got to strike up an understanding. If you're putting it high balls to Davis, they need to work out an understanding where if he's going to flick it on, you need to be in that pocket of space, and you need to make sure Davis headers it into that pocket of space. I mean, it's easy said than done, but I think too many times we're hitting a long ball to Davis and there's no one on the end of it when he's trying to flick it on, or he can't see anyone. He ends up holding it up and there's 2 or 3 players on him and he just looks like he's weak and he loses the ball. That's the only problem with that. But yeah, you could do that, but I think I'll stick with that and just switch those two, maybe half time.
Yes, again, it's going to be interesting, to see what team we pick. Bear in mind, Keenan Davis, it was only a little injury, but he's coming back from injury, so he may or may not be 100%. So that'll be one to look out for sure. Yeah,
excellent, mate. Right, okay. Right. Oh, Andy Campbell's on. We'll get to the played before 11 very shortly, mate. Mr. Campbell, hello, sir.
Good evening. How are we?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you ever so much for coming on, mate.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I gave you the thumbs up, mate, but I know you're a very, very busy man. So thank you very much. Just introduction as ever, probably doesn't need any introduction, but he's a Borough legend, Cardiff legend, over 50 career goals in 269 appearances, many teams like Borough, Cardiff, finished his career at Whitby Town, England under 21 international, currently the Borough women's manager as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Campbell. Like I say, I'll repeat once again, mate, good evening and thank you ever so much.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Really look forward to it again, as always.
Brilliant, mate. I'll try to do a really, really quick intro there, mate. But looking at Borough, and obviously I'll get Danny to come in straight away as well, mate. But they're going good guns so far in the last 10, 11 games, mate. I mean, Carrick's really got a motor in. It should be a really good game tomorrow.
Yeah, listen, he's worked wonders with. Listen, he's very good squad. I think other managers probably didn't get the best out of probably the squad that they probably should have done. Michael's tweaked certain things. He's brought in certain people around the area, and he's done really well. He's got to tune out some big players. Akpom, just to name one big player. Every team needs a goal scorer, and somebody who can score goals from probably nowhere. It's given them a real opportunity, but I think the test is the likes of the Watfords. Last week they got beat by Sunderland, which was a big game. It's how they react now after quite a big defeat. Obviously Dale Fry will be suspended, so it's a bit of a test for them now for tomorrow, and make sure that they probably get back on track with the positive results. I think tomorrow's more of probably a mustn't lose for Middlesbrough. I think they need to get back on track with a positive result, and probably a little bit of payback. Because last time obviously Watford with an extremely late winner. Last time around, I think it's really important that they probably try and turn this around very quickly.
Definitely.
Andy, just a quick question. Why didn't it work for Wilder at Middlesbrough? Like, what was happening?
I don't know. This might sound really stupid. That sometimes people can try too hard and try too many things, and things just don't work. That I've played for Chrissy. I know Chrissy personally as a friend, and I know what his management style's like, and it's sometimes tough love, and sometimes players don't like that. Sometimes players don't like people being honest and being probably self-critical. But for me, players need to man up a little bit sometimes and understand that if they're not performing well, sometimes the kick of the backside is required, and whenever there's a new manager in, players respond, and rightly or wrongly, it looks from the outside that probably they're trying because they need to impress a new manager. For me, I think they let Chris Wilder down. But and that's just my own personal opinion. But I think it happens at every club. You always seem to get a response out of a new manager. But the test is towards the end of the season now. It's about bringing new players in, because the manager's probably took his time, looked at players he wants to bring in, and he's probably been cautious of bringing new players in because the players have done pretty well, probably overperformed really. I think from where the start of the season, because let's be honest, if Middlesbrough had started half decent, they'd be top of the league by now. They'll be up there with the top two and flying. But you know what I mean, they are where they are because of a real poor start. But you know what I mean, if you'd have offered me playoffs just before the winter break, I'd have snapped your hands off, you know. So I think be cautious where we are and understand where we are. But the bigger picture for me is, are Middlesbrough Football Club ready to get the Premier League? Possibly not. You know what I mean? I think if they go up, it's a massive job. A huge investment needs to be spent across the squad, and I'm just not so sure this season is the right time to go up. Even though probably every Middlesbrough fan's probably screaming at the screen now with what you're talking about. But there's a bigger picture, you know, that it's sometimes clubs have a detrimental effect of getting promoted, and it knocks them back 5 or 6 years. You know what I mean? The likes of West Brom, Leicester, Norwich. You know what I mean? Being a up and down club for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden you're spending money wisely. You know what I mean? What I don't want to do is run before we can walk, I think.
Exactly, mate. And you've just said about Chris Wilder, and you obviously, like you say, you know him, his managerial style. You like that sort of more old school feel. Is like, you know, need to man up. You know, it's harsh but fair, but that's the way it goes. And a lot of managers, especially. I mean, now, I mean, Wilder's still like a modern manager. He likes sort of the old school ideals of, you know, get on with it, and you know, you need the short, sharp shock sometimes. But do you think Carrick is slightly different with his mannerisms, or do you think it's just how he goes about it at the moment?
Yeah, well, I think so, because you listen to his team, his press conferences, the way he comes across on the radio and stuff. He comes across very, very calm and composed, like he probably played the game. I think, you know what I mean. Was never really a tough, get in your face kind of player. He just is talking with his feet, and he seems to do that on the pitch, on the sideline as a manager now. You know, he doesn't seem a shouting, a screamer. You know what I mean? But saying that, he's been brought up with the best manager Britain's ever come across in Sir Alex Ferguson. So you know what I mean, who give the hair dry treatment out. So you know what I mean. I'm sure he's got some traits, and I'm sure he's got a good shout in him if he needs it. But I think at the minute, you know, give the players some credit where it's due, and the performance. So I think that hair dry treatment may come out once it's needed. If that's to get them over the line and get them in the playoffs, then so be it. Because I think sometimes every footballer, in every single walk of life, needs that hair dry treatment at some point.
Andy, who would you say in the Watford team is going to be the biggest threat to Middlesbrough tomorrow?
For me, I just look at the front three. You know what I mean? Every time they play, every time they rotate, they cause problems. I looked at the first game, and every time I see them, they're athletic. I watched the game against Norwich away, and they absolutely blew me away. How dominant they were, how physical they were, how fit they looked. Watford just looked like a fit side, and they've got experience across the board, and that's what this for me is a telltale sign of where Middlesbrough are in terms of standing, in terms of stature, in terms of this league, and where they want to go. You know what I mean? If they've got any ambition about getting out this league in the playoffs, they've got to beat the likes of Watford, because for me, it's like for like. They can easily be replaced where they are. You know what I mean? Getting beat last week, it's all about responses. Tomorrow's no different. Tomorrow needs a huge reaction from supporters. You know what I mean? Management, players, everyone's got to take a collective responsibility in getting beat in a derby game. And but you know what I mean? The next game becomes the most important one, and tomorrow becomes a 6-pointer for me, because if you lose, that's 2 defeats on the bounce, and fans start doubting the manager. Fans start doubting the players. Everyone starts doubting each other again, and all of a sudden we've become a bad team overnight. And tomorrow we need to pick up 3 big points, if not 1 point. You know, I think for me it's a huge opportunity to get back on that horse, so to speak.
Definitely. We've got Halsey saying, nice to see Andy back on TMA again. Yeah, no, 100% agree with that, mate. One of our avid watchers. David Bussey's been waiting for you as well. I think he's Borough fan. He says, love listening to Andy. So knowledgeable and truthful. Mel Williams is saying 2-2. A couple of our fans have also said, I think Bussey actually said 2-1 Borough. Dave, who's always Watford win, even he said Borough to win 2-1. But long term, like you said, and I echo that from a Watford point of view. If we're looking to get into the playoffs, we need to beat teams like Borough. I think you beat anyone, but especially teams like Borough who are on a surge at the moment. But long term, from your point of view, where do you think Carrick's? Do you think Carrick's looking at promotion this season, or is it just more a stability? And then if we can get sneak in the playoffs, then so be it. Or think long term that's obviously where he obviously wants to be.
I think the questions or the answers changed in the last 6 months. I think from probably the minute he walked in the door, he was probably looking at stability. He was probably looking at next season. He was probably overlooking and looking towards the future. But now, the here and now, he's probably answering a different answer. He's probably looking at playoffs this season. He's wanting to get promoted because he's a young manager. You know what I mean? Like let's be honest. He's probably wanting to develop himself. He's wanting to get himself in the Premier League, to test himself against Premier League managers. But my only concern with that is the football club ready financially? Are we stable enough? Possibly not. As a team, have we got Premier League players who can compete at that level? You know what I mean? We played Watford in the FA Cup a couple of weeks ago. It was Brighton in the FA Cup a few weeks ago. Brighton's reserves it was effectively, and they beat us 5-1 at home. And that showed me that we were well short of where we want to go. And you know what I mean, we were ahead of Brighton a couple of years ago in terms of when we got promoted back to the Premier League. So it just shows how far one club's gone and how far one club's dropped off. And unfortunately, we just need to make sure that if we do go up, we're ready. And for me, I'd like to have another season in the Championship, go up properly, win the league, get promoted in the top two, and do it in the right way. But listen, everyone wants Premier League football, everyone's that holy grail. But my only concern is the longevity of the football club, because sometimes going up, getting relegated, players leaving, you can put yourself in a bigger mess like we've been in probably over the last 5 years.
Andy, just a quick one. I think one player that's clearly loving Michael Carrick is Chuba Akpom, you know, because he's never been known as a natural goal scorer, and even now he's not really playing as number 9. You stick in, you know, Matt Crooks front wing, and he's more of a midfielder. So what's he done to, you know, turn Akpom into this prolific goal scorer?
Probably backed him, giving him an opportunity. You know, I know Chris Wilder sent him out on loan to Greece, and he's brought him back. He's given him like a free role. He's played him as a 10, which is giving him license to get on the ball in good areas. He's stuck a midfielder up top, which for the centre forwards at the football club, it's probably a little bit disheartening. But the way that they play, the way that Akpom can get the ball, he can run in the box, make late runs, have shots from long distance, play wide, and get involved in the game. And it's just giving him a lease of life. You know, I heard an interview that Chuba did, and he said that he's watched videos of our players and understood and studied our players. So when players put balls in the box, the runs that our players make, the creativity that our players have on the ball. You know, that's a player who wants to play for this football club. And if he's just in to make the right noises, it's worked for me, because you know what I mean, his goals speak for itself. His attitude, he's playing with a smile on his face, and there's not many footballers I can remember, centre forward wise or attacking players, who've done this well for Middlesbrough. So it's long way to continue. Normally we have these players who do well and move on, but I think hopefully we can continue this development of an attacking player scoring goals and have the longevity. But he's been given the opportunity first and foremost, and the players now rewarding the manager and the supporters with the goals and the performances that he's showing.
Definitely, mate. Right, okay, we're gonna go to they played between them, or played for both of them at 11 from Danny, mate. So if you want to stick around, Andy, and reminisce on certain players that have played for both clubs, then
go for it.
Yeah, definitely, mate. So yeah,
I'm hoping you name at least one that I've played with. I know there's one definitely who should be in it, but I'll give that until later on.
We'll have a look,
mate. Yeah, honestly, mate, it's absolutely brilliant. I'll run it up now, but yeah, if you do, just shout out and say I played with him.
Yeah.
All right.
Here we go then, it's back. Everybody's favourite part of Friday Night Live, Thursday Night Live, whatever it is. You played for both 11, this time it's Middlesbrough. You know, when we played them in the home game, it was midweek game, so of course we didn't do it. So now we have a chance to do it. Goalkeeper, I just could not think of a goalkeeper. I did all the research. I just could not find a goalkeeper that played for Watford and Middlesbrough. So it's basically a 10 today. You know, we're playing without a goalie. It's fine. 3 defenders. I had to tweak the formation just to get the players in. Andrew Taylor had a spell on loan at Watford for Middlesbrough, 2010-11. I can remember him scoring a rocket against Portsmouth New Year's Day, I think it was. And I remember him actually returning to Middlesbrough and then scoring against Watford, scoring a winner against Watford in the same season, which was quite ironic. The other defender, Paul Ocon. Andy, did you play with him?
I did for Paul. Yeah, Paul was a very good Australian. He played defence or defensive midfielder for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, he's probably one less forgotten at Watford. To be honest, had a short loan spell, or he might have been a free transfer. I can't remember, but again, one Watford fans will probably want to forget. If I'm being perfectly honest. On the right of the defenders, Neil Cox, one of the most probably underrated players. Yeah, you play with him. Yeah, Coxie. Yeah. I really liked him at Watford. I thought he was a brilliant player for Watford. He's one of them players that he never really got an awful lot of credit, but what he got with Neil Cox is, he wore his heart on his sleeve and just give it his all for Watford. And ultimately, I think he'll go down as quite a figure at Watford. Really enjoyed having Watford. So yeah, any particular memories about Coxie, Andy?
Coxie was great with me. Coxie obviously came to Middlesbrough the season before I left school, so £1 million signing, looked after me. He ended up signing for Cardiff as well, so I've had a really good relationship with Neil. Still speak to him now. So Neil has been really helpful during my career. So I've got a lot to owe Neil for.
Yeah, Pidge, what are your memories of Coxie?
Oh God! Our first one I remember is when he was playing at Borough, and I think he skinned Mooney just before he. I think Wilkinson got a goal in back in '94. That's the first memory of him. But I always thank Coxie for letting that goal in for Bolton in the playoff final when Righty kicked it. I always thanked him. But yeah, he was great for Borough as well as he was for Watford. But yeah, as a centre back, he was excellent for us.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the midfield. Again, another one that's probably one less forgotten. Josh McEachran had a short loan spell. When he was at Chelsea, he went to all these clubs, like any really Chelsea youngster does. Go to so many clubs. Ended up at Watford. I think he was, when we signed him, I was quite excited, and then I think he got injured, and then we just didn't really see much best for him. And again, had a spell at Middlesbrough on loan from Chelsea. Probably Cinema really didn't really do an awful lot at Middlesbrough, from what I can gather. The other midfielder, Adlin Guardiola, I think he's obviously most remembered for an absolute, I can't even describe it, an absolute bullet of a shot against Arsenal, which is, just a ridiculous goal. But one player just, again, give it his all. At the time, he loved playing for Watford, and when he left, quite disappointed, but, we move on. The other midfielder, Nathaniel Chalobah, obviously had two spells at Watford. When we signed him 2012-2013 season on loan from Chelsea, he was 17, but he played the game like he was in like 25, 26. So much maturity at 17 years old, ridiculous. Obviously went back to Chelsea, had a spell at Middlesbrough, Nottingham Forest, Burnley. I think he had a spell in Italy as well, in Napoli, I believe. So, and obviously he come back to Watford. When we signed him, I thought, right, great, this is brilliant. And then for the first few games in the Marcus Hill, I thought, oh my God, what a player we've got here. And then that injury happened. And then after that, we never saw the best of Chalobah until maybe the promotion season 2 seasons ago, which when that period where Chalobah was captain, we were really starting to see, the old Chalobah back. And then obviously we couldn't agree on a new contract. He's went off to Fulham, and to be fair to me, can't really get a game under Fulham. So, it's actually one I would have liked to see back at Watford, but, maybe we'll look at that in the summer. So, Pidge, you'd have to remind me of Josh Walker. There we go. Again, another one not really remembered at all, really, at Watford. I think he only played a handful of games for Watford, didn't do anything. I think Josh Walker, if I remember rightly, did come through the youth academy. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy. Was he a youth product? Yeah, thought he was, Didn't really do an awful lot from what I can gather at Middlesbrough either, so probably one less forgotten for both teams, what I can imagine. On the left wing, Diego Fabrini, another player. When we signed him, I was quite excited. He showed brief glimpses of what he can do, but ultimately just wasn't consistent enough. I think he only scored 1 goal for Watford away at Reading. Middlesbrough, I can't really say too much about Middlesbrough. Probably, again, didn't do an awful lot. Maybe only scored 1 or 2 goals. I don't know. Number 9, British Sambalonga. Funny enough, on Twitter we're linked with him again. Well, I don't that come out of nowhere, but apparently we're linked with a move for British Summer Longer. Absolutely out of nowhere. The return of Brit. So yeah, again, Watford youth boy. Come from our youth academy. Made his debut against Coventry 2012, I think it was, something like that. And then I think we sold him to, it was either like Southend or someone like that. I can't remember exactly who we sold him to, but actually ended up playing for Middlesbrough. Did quite well in Middlesbrough from what I gather. And now he's playing in Turkey, who I'm not even going to bother pronouncing their club, but he's playing in Turkey, doing quite well. So on the right wing, last but not least, Mark Yates, again another player that was the 2 seasons we had him at Watford. He did some important games, made some, scored some important goals. I can remember one goal we scored. I think he scored on his debut against Burnley. I think he scored a free kick against Leeds where we won 6-0 or 6-1. So yeah, that's your play for both. 10 this week, not 11, so I couldn't think of a goalkeeper.
And I've kept my mic on, so good times, mate. You tell it's a good pod when my mic stays on. Okay. So, well, we've given our predictions. Andy, what's your prediction for tomorrow's score prediction?
I'm going to probably sit on the fence. I think both teams are going to score. I think both teams have got enough going forward. And I think defensively, Middlesbrough with Dale Fry missing, I think defensively, I think they'll struggle a little bit. I'm going to go for 1-1. And to be fair, I think with what happened last weekend, I think Middlesbrough fans will probably be quite pleased with getting a positive result. And for me, a positive result is not losing tomorrow. Yeah.
Do you think you'll sneak in the playoffs end of the season?
I hope so. I hope they can give it a go. Listen, we all want to go to Wembley. We always want to, we don't want the heartbreak that we all normally have. But part of me wants just the stability but with what's happened and how well they've done. Obviously, I think the top two's is a pipe dream with how they're doing. But yeah, I think just to test yourselves and have that 2-legged game and put the club in the shop window and give them an opportunity to bring bigger and better players in. I think playoffs helps with that.
Definitely, mate. I'll let Danny finish off in a second, but we'd rather have you in the playoffs than the dark side anyway, mate. So that'll be an interesting pod if we can grab you once again, mate. Before that.
Yeah, no bother, anytime.
Yeah, definitely. Danny, do you want to finish off, mate?
I think I agree with Andy. I think both teams have got the capability of scoring hack load of goals, but also think both teams can quite easily concede a hack lot of goals. So I think there's going to be a lot of goals in there. I'm going to go. Obviously, I'd like us to win, but if I'm being realistic, I think a 2-2 draw, and I think both teams would actually be quite happy with a draw. So yeah, I'll go 2-2.
Brilliant, mate. Andy, thank you ever so much once again.
My pleasure, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy early birthday to your brother and love to the family, mate.
Thank you.
Take care,
mate. Guys. Take care.
Mate.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you very much, Andy. Absolutely amazing from him once again. Third time he keeps the match ball now. Definitely. Halsey, so thanks again, Andy. All the best. Dave said Kevin Wilkinson. Elaborate on that, Dave. Apologies, mate. It was halfway through our fantastic. They played for both 11 that time. But yeah, the Hibernian player, Dave, is honestly, mate, he's really, really good. I'll chat to you Monday a bit more about him as well at work. But yeah, no, he's really, really good. I'll let Danny finish this off very shortly, but just remember tomorrow night and Sunday, both 8 p.m. We'll get all your feedback from the fallout at the Riverside Stadium, obviously against Borough. That's the fans' verdict, 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And then obviously Sunday night, where you control the topics, we will discuss them. TMA Sunday Night Live with myself, the young man Dino. We don't know what bedspread he'll have on, but you can guess that. And also Canadian Darren with Beer of the Week. Move Dino will be back on once again. I promise you that with his fantastic non-league and women's football roundup. And just big shout out to Andy and the Borough women. Fantastic. We should have got a bit more of a plug. We will do next time he's on. Fantastic job he's doing with the Borough women. So Andy, if you're still watching, mate, good luck, fella. I'll probably message you anyway, but good luck. Fantastic he's doing promoting women's football there. So yeah, Danny, mate, summarise or finish off, mate. But yeah, firstly, before you do, mate, safe journey tomorrow, Danny, as ever.
Yeah, it's going to be, like I say, it's going to be a long one, but you know, it will feel a lot shorter if we come up with 3 points. So come on, you ones.